All right, guys. We are going to be on Akalon Waste. We have our first TVT of the day. We haven't really seen too much Terran. A lot of PvPs, a couple ZVZs. So this is going to be, to round things out, of course, we can't forget the other mirror matchup. I am so pumped for this. This is game number 1 in this best of 3 to determine who qualifies for the WCS EU Challenger League. Would you like to introduce our wonderful players here today, Jorasar?
Most certainly, guys. Representing Team Empire as the red Terran player in the top left-hand corner of Akalon Wastes, we have none other than Bratok. And he will be facing up against the player that cost me, just over a year ago, a Korean barbecue meal at IPL 5. We'll talk a little bit more about this at a later stage, I'm sure. An incredibly strong Terran player. Unfortunately in this team kill situation, but he has one more best of 3 to win. Can he do it? It is Empire's BeastyQT.
This should be a great series. Of course, we have the obvious team kill scenario here between Bratok and BeastyQT, our Eastern European Terrans. BeastyQT I know a little bit more about. Personal friend of mine. I've actually practiced a pretty reasonable amount with him. He definitely likes his early aggressive builds, and I'm not surprised that he's gone for Ghast first opening in this game. But we do have a somewhat of a delayed Ghast for Bratok. This should be a pretty good series, especially on this map. You have any thoughts in particular on what we might see in a TVT on this map, Jarasar?
I'm not entirely certain. I mean, it's not actually that great for Reapers, this map, because you can't use this side of the base on the left-hand side for BeastyQT, on the right-hand side for Bratok. That cliff isn't jumpable, so there's actually not too much surface area for you to be able to use. So that's not something I would always expect. Of course, always useful for scouting purposes, but I don't expect to get too much damage done. I'd like to see players go into very, very aggressive fast drop play because of the large amounts of empty space that we see either side of both players' bases.
Yeah, the drops are definitely going to be something that can be a huge factor on this map. BeastyQT, though, he is going for a tech lab on his barracks as he starts his factory, and I think with the second gas geyser, we could be seeing a very fast Banshee out of our, I was going to say our Empire Terran, but we have 2 of those out of our Serbian Terran here. And I feel like this is a very weird choice just because most players prepare for fast Widow Mines just in case anyway, which of course gives you that detection, which oftentimes is in the form of a missile turret. So this is just going to be a straight up very aggressive build. And with the second gas, it looks like it's going to be with Cloak as well. But at the same time, Factory's just starting for Bratok. He's getting a command center much earlier though. And, well, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of setup he has to deal with this and how much he's willing to commit to scouting, because if he doesn't scan, he's not going to be able to know too much about this since he didn't see if it was a reactor or a tech lab. And keep in mind, reactor is standard, Marine Hellion. Banshee, not as common anymore.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a tricky, I would say, situation coming out of BeastyQT now, who's just going to be 1 basic in this particular game. Cloak has indeed been started for that Banshee as Bradok's command center is about to complete. Popping up and getting a face full of Marines there, not the kind of thing you'd want to see. And he's going to be moving back. Did he actually see the command center with that scout? Yes, he did. So he knows the command center's on the way.
Yeah, and knowing that much, I mean, there's going to be double orbitals, technically, as far as scanning goes. So it's going to come down to Bratok. If he's not going to have that information, if he's not going to go for the early Reaper scout or do an early scan to see what BeastyQT's doing, he's got to at least pocket 1 scan. If he continues to just use all of his mules, he's going to find himself possibly losing a lot to this Banshee. And I'd love that he has the Widow Mine here defensively as well. It's going to do a great job for dealing with this. And a Viking. Bradok's opening is looking very, very strong right now versus what BeastyQT's doing.
This is... BeastyQT needs to try and weasel in an incredible amount of damage here, but it's not looking like so far that's going to happen. We even have a missile turret. It's going to be complete long before the Banshee gets there, and it won't be in time to cancel Cloak either because it's already complete. So he's going to have to run with it right now, and well, just has to hope that he gets a lot of economic damage done because his command center is so much slower than his teammates.
Yeah, that Banshee's going to arrive at the natural. I mean, he could pick off these mules. Those are technically his scans right there, so definitely a nice catch getting those SCVs, and if he can kill off both of these mules before they can even start mining, that is so much economy lost, and he will. Runs into the missile turret range, though. Needs to be very careful, BeastyQT. He's somewhat almost found a way to mitigate the losses. Might be able to get a couple more SCVs here, and now he's starting to get himself into a position where he's killed enough SCVs that he's about even. His command center is going to be done shortly, and this game should stabilize unless he can make this Banshee get a lot more than he already has.
Okay, that's just about okay. Ooh, even picking off an STD at the very end there. He's running out of energy now, though, so he's going to be getting the heck out of dodge as much as he can. A second Banshee coming down, picking off the SCV, building the missile turret, and this really is where BeastyQT's build is going to pay off. So many more SCVs being picked apart here, and that he's not even used Cloak yet as well, so that's tremendous effort from him. So many workers killed, 15 and counting. BeastyQT is really getting one up on top of his teammate in this game.
Yeah, he's actually got Hellbats coming out now at the same time, but Bratok with a drop into the main base. He's got a lot of Marines, 8 loaded up in that medevac. 4 Hellions at the front. Hellions can kite Hellbats pretty damn well, and that drop is hitting the main. BeastyQT will have to pull his SCVs. This is Bradok's opportunity to tie things up in terms of the workers killed. He's running into the natural as well. The Banshee's throwing in its damage. He's killed 5 SCVs so far. Bratok 7 now, but still 18 total killed by BeastyQT. He's going to need to do a little bit more if he wants to get himself back any kind of economic advantage.
That's right. This has been a real boxing match of a game so far, actually. The worker supply is 30 to 25 in favor of BeastyQT, but Bratok still has this drop ongoing, and he's picking off a couple of SCVs of his own. These Hellbats won't be able to do too much because they're just a little bit too slow to deal with the maneuverability of these Marines, and Bratok is continuously trying to get more and more damage done. This is he's evening up the score here just a little bit. He's actually taken the supply lead very, very slightly for the first time. 56 to 54 right now. BeastyQT still on 30 workers to 26 though, but this drop is being so annoying.
Yeah, and there's nothing that BeastyQT can even do about it. Bradok's brought 3 Vikings of his own. He killed off BeastyQT's only Viking. There's no anti-air to actually kill this medevac off, so he's just going to keep dancing around, abusing how slow Hellbats are, and he actually loses 3 of those Marines right there. But these Vikings are still going to present a real threat. He could land them just in the mineral line, really, if BeastyQT moves his units too far away, and I think this has been a really good amount of damage done so far.
It has. The economic level for Bratok still isn't quite where he wants it to be. He's at 27 workers to 36 right now, so BeastyQT really keeping on top of his macro behind this. But that said, he has a healthy amount of defense. He's got the missile turrets up, he has the Widow Mines out and about as well, and he has had his orbital commands up for a little bit longer. So we'll see if Bratok can economically get back in here, but in the meantime, you're right, these Vikings, I'd like to see them actually land behind the mineral line and get some more damage done. In the workers kill tab, BeastyQT still killed a lot more than Bratok, and there will be opportunities for him to even that up a bit more.
Yeah, BeastyQT does get a Thor out, and he picks off one of the Vikings with that high-impact payload. Definitely a good decision there to get that Thor, I think. When it comes to any form of mechanical play, if your opponent gets the air lead, you gotta go Thor, and this may be the earliest Thor someone's really ever been forced to get, but the Banshee coming in for BeastyQT, doing even more damage, picking off lots more SCVs of Bratok. He's at 27 workers killed so far. He's delayed the 3rd command center from being produced. He's working away now at the add-ons. It looks like both players want to go mech. BeastyQT's in a good spot right now. Ooh, Hellions running into the main.
Yeah, that's right, and all the SCVs have been pulled there. The number of workers killed in this game are 27 to 16. So at the 13-minute mark, we're getting close to 50 workers killed by both players in this game so far. And we have the double Hellbat trap going inside the main base of Bratok at the moment. He's boosting it as BeastyQT. Yes, there's the missile turret there. There's also, very, very nicely done. The Widow Mine actually picking one of them off, so only no medevac left, only the Hellbats there, but another Banshee. BeastyQT, in fact, that's the same Banshee, still doing so much damage, and the number of workers killed now is 37 to 16. BeastyQT squeezing ahead in this game.
Yeah, 25 SCVs for Bratok to 46 for BeastyQT really tells the story. He's been able to defend himself long enough. I think this Thor is a great addition. It's so good versus Hellions, so good versus even the Marine drops. So I think this is definitely going to favor our Serbian Terran player here. The fact that both players are going mech is interesting. What's slightly more interesting, I don't know if it's because he can't afford an armoring or if it's just a stylistic choice to prefer Hellions in the early stages, but Bratok is going Hellions and BeastyQT is going Hellbats. Now, in a straight-up fight, the Hellbats will, of course, be better, but in these dicey situations, the Hellions can kite the Hellbats, of course, maneuver around those slow Thors and slow tanks, and, well, Bratok's got another drop hitting the main of BeastyQT.
He does indeed. Oh, and the missile turret's actually catching that out a little bit. Oh, it was one hit from going down, but all 4 Hellions are going to be able to... The SCVs are lining up, and a whole bunch of them going down now. Bratok trying to fight back. He's at 86 supply versus 92. So many SCVs have been roasted, and he can even head into the natural and try and get a little bit more damage done himself. He's outmaneuvering that siege tank, and he will be able to get a few more SCV kills. More are coming to try and stop this, and finally a Hellbat gets rid of it. 37 to 32 workers killed. So much damage done by both players, and a single Hellion is still inside the main base of BeastyQT.
Yeah, this worker count tells the story of this game so far, I think. We have another Hellbat drop hitting the main base, at the same time going for a couple more SCV kills. 31 workers to 35, and we're 16 minutes into this game. This game has been absolutely ridiculous. Like you said, a true slugfest, as it were. And I mean, BeastyQT is trying to take his third base right now. Bratok wants to take his third. There's a Widow Mine there. But both players have been so economically hurt, no one's saving up energy for scans. Neither of these guys can really afford to throw scans down. They need to get their economies together.
This is really, really intense here. Both players wanting it so badly. It's 94 to 89 supply, so ridiculously close at the moment as well. And it looks like both players are now going to settle back and try and get to their army desired ideal army compositions. 41 to 33 workers in favor of BeastyQT at the moment, so we'll see if he can squeeze that advantage out in a little bit. But in the meanwhile, I hear that Tetra has some breaking news from elsewhere in the bracket.
Yes, breaking news, John. We have 2 more qualifiers, meaning this game will decide the last player to qualify, and the 2 qualifiers that we have are Acer Hydra and Tiefel.
Thank you very much for that, mate. And it looks, so it looks like now that this is going to be the final qualifier. Congratulations to Hydra and Tefel, both of whom qualify to the WCS EU Challenger League. So this best of 3 will determine the final qualifier here. BeastyQT currently up 124 supply versus Bratok's 114.
And it looks like Bratok is trying to get himself snugly nestled on top of this natural expansion. He will be able to deny the refinery if he can do enough damage here. He's taken quite a few hits himself, but BeastyQT doesn't actually have the range to take out some of those tanks. At the same time, BeastyQT's got another Hellbat drop flying out across the map. He's actually got 2 more Hellbat drops flying around. He is relentless with this, but BeastyQT stores should be able to punch these Vikings back long enough that he can retake his natural. But I gotta say, Bratok did a nice little bit of damage there. Still, 49 SCVs to 43.
Hellbat drop in the third base location. Bratok losing a couple of SCVs, not too many at the moment, but the real issue is this sieged up location at the natural expansion. BeastyQT seems to be holding fast at the moment. Hellbat's still continuing to try and do a bit of damage, and he's actually dropping Hellbats on top of this army here. Wow, forcing those siege tanks to engage, and that was a really, really nice move from BeastyQT, who now takes a 20 supply lead.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Terran had force fields, Jorisar, but when you put Hellions and Hellbats and Medivacs, sometimes there is just no running away. A really nice supply advantage for BeastyQT as far as all that damage he's done. The worker count becoming a lot more even. There's another Hellion drop into the main base, but the army supply is still strongly favoring BeastyQT. He's up about 20, and when it comes to mech versus mech, that can be all of the difference. But I will say this is probably one of the more low econ games that we've casted, especially considering the length.
Yeah, exactly. Econ, who needs that? We're at the 20-minute mark, ladies and gentlemen, and both players are under 50 workers. You might be asking yourself, why are they under 50 workers? Because both of them have about the same number of workers now than the workers they've actually killed this game. It's been a massive boxing match between these 2 guys. They have been trading workers back and forth. At another double Hellbat drop going down in the third base. The Medivac gets picked apart immediately, but the Hellbats are still alive. We'll be able to do a little bit of damage, not too much.
Yeah, the drop in the natural, though, for BeastyQT, getting a little bit more kills here. If both players have actually killed the same number of SCVs, that's 55. And, I mean, we're 20 minutes into this game, and neither player has been able to top 60 workers. It's been just been absolutely ridiculous, especially with mech versus mech. where the number of SCVs that you have isn't necessarily as important since the gas income limits your production, but even these players are having difficulty spending it all with how many workers they're losing.
That's absolutely right. They need to be able to get their armies up with as much econ as possible, but it's very difficult when you can't even saturate the bases you already own. Neither player really letting up in terms of drops and harassment. Another 2 Hellbats going in to exactly the same location from BeastyQT. Yes, he knows there's a missile turret there and there was a Viking to take apart the medevac earlier. No, he does not care. He wants to go in anyway.
Yeah, and he is just trying to throw in as much damage as he can. This doesn't stop. It just never stops. They literally never stops raining fire on Bratok's worker line, and the BeastyQTs actually might be able to take out the missile turret as well, securing him some further attack openings. But this is just, yeah, I don't know how else to describe this. 59 workers killed by BeastyQT so far. Neither of these players even, you know, not able to even get close to maxing out yet. And I feel like, what kind of engagement are we going to have here with all this limited econ? It's just so many siege tanks on both sides. The current total siege tank count is 15 for Bratok, 13 for BeastyQT. Both have an even number of Thors and about an even number of Hellbats and Hellions if you combine them. So it's still very close in terms of what armies these guys have, but they've both been playing low econ for quite a while.
Yeah, this game's actually going to enter a phase, I think, where both sides sort of siege up in the middle of the map and can't make too much progress. I wouldn't be surprised to see a battle cruiser transition by one or both of these guys heading into a little bit of the later game, but Bratok has his army on attack move at the moment, and he's heading straight into the sieged up line of BeastyQT there. Is this the correct decision? So many of those tanks are going down before they can actually fire a couple of shots, and this is looking pretty intense right now. The last Thor is about to go down from Bratok. Was that A move a little bit too much? BeastyQT currently had 130 supply to 100.
And a quick live update. We had 10 more SCVs die while that happened. Hellbat drops hit the third base, the natural of Bratok, and a Hellbat drop in the natural of BeastyQT. But BeastyQT seems to have taken the advantage there, and you're completely right. You know, he tried to put those Thors in front of the army to tank a lot of the shots and let his own tanks get into position. But Bratok, the economy is so low for both of these players, he cannot afford to just throw units away like that. I feel like going for some sort of split map situation like you just suggested would definitely favor both of these guys since they can't really replace too much of their stuff that quickly. But BeastyQT, now that he's got this fourth base secure, is really going to start amping up his production.
Yeah, he definitely is, and well, he's moving towards the third base location of Bratok right now, and I don't think there's very much Bratok can do about it, to be perfectly honest. Once these rocks go, yes, he'll have a couple of tanks. Is it going to be enough, though? The 2 Vikings are just going to be doing a little bit of reconnaissance here. This is a tricky position to move into, especially if Bratok has sieged up, but the numbers definitely lie with BeastyQT right now. He's at 155 supply to 117.
Yeah, and I love this, just putting the Hellbats right on top of those tanks. Not only do they deal damage, but of course they draw the splash damage from the other tanks. He is going to be able to kill off a couple more of them, and I feel like BeastyQT is soon going to reach that position where he can just push in, and Bratok, he's just going to throw the towel and realizes, you know what, I can't get BeastyQT off my back. Game number 1 is going to go to BeastyQT.